Yeah, my heart's sinking like a storm. Cold, I'm so cold. Yeah, my heart is sinking like a storm. I'm so cold. Yeah, my heart is sinking like a storm. Cold. I'm so cold. Yeah, my heart is sinking like a storm. I'm so cold. Yeah, my heart is sinking like a storm.
Are you told aware even about your guy? Are you told aware even about your guy? Are you told aware even about your guy? Are you told aware even about your Are you told aware even about your guy? Are you told aware even about your guy? Are you told aware even about your guy? How you talk that way even about your
Sometimes a disaster, sometimes we get free. Oh, you take the long way to stay close to me. I don't want another, I just wanna breathe. You take me higher, you stay close to me. Oh, I feel so alive, feel so alive. The dark won't cloud my eyes. Yeah, I feel so alive, feel so alive. Oh, we chase the night. Oh, I feel so alive, feel so alive. The dark won't cloud my eyes. Yeah, I feel so alive. Sometimes a disaster, sometimes we get free. Oh, you take the long way to stay close to me. I don't want another, I just wanna breathe. You take me higher, you stay close to me. I feel so alive, feel so alive. The dark won't cloud my eyes. Yeah, I feel so alive, feel so alive. Oh, we chase the night. Oh, I feel so alive, feel so alive. The dark won't cloud my eyes. Yeah, I feel so alive, feel so alive. Oh, we chase the night.
just let me go. Please let me go. You like to love so hard and then you throw it away. You like to open scars and then you blame it on me. You're someone I can never be with. You joke about my flaws and weaknesses. Why'd you love so hard and then just throw it away? You opened up my heart and just to close it on me. Don't blame it on me. Don't blame it on me. So don't you blame it on me. You never knew how bad it was. Guess you never really cared because you said your parents never gave you hugs, and there's a child you will never love. But you made me love so hard, but then you threw it away. You like to open scars and then you blame it on me. You're someone I can never be with. You joke about my flaws and weaknesses. Why'd you love so hard and then just throw it away? You opened up my heart and just to close it on me. Don't blame it on me. Don't you blame it on me. Open scars. You open all my scars and then you blame it on me. You're someone I can never be. You took up all my flaws and weaknesses. So don't blame it on me. Don't blame it on me. Don't blame it on me.
We used to be solid, not falling apart. Things never not okay when you were mine. You used to be honest, not pulling my heartstrings. Every other day you change your mind. Cause when you're high, you call me like I'm lonely. Some kind of little toy for you to wind up when you land in bed and feeling lonely. I'm tired of being deployed like that. I'm getting busier and busier, so disorientated. First you want me, then you're busy. Girl, it's not that complicated. Got me tied up in a leash and running, going round, round. You got me running in a circle. I'm just trying to find my way back to you. What happened to us? Round in a circle. Back where I started, I'm stuck here like glue. You keep me on a loop. I'm just trying to find my way back to you. What happened to us? Round in a circle. Back where I started, I'm stuck here like glue. You keep me on loop. I used to respect you, thought I was enough. Yeah, feels like half a century ago. Guess you keep coming back after telling me off, without even feeling sorry between goodbye and hello again. Thought we could grow again, how about no again, again and again. I'm trying to tell you we can't be friends, struggling to comprehend that we broke up and ended again and again and again. And I'm getting busier and busier, so disorientated. First you want me, then you're busy. Girl, it's not that complicated. Got me tied up in a leash and running, round, round. You got me running in a circle. I'm just trying to find my way back to you. What happened to us? Round in a circle. Back where I started, I'm stuck here like glue. You keep me on a loop. I'm just trying to find my way back to you. What happened to us? Round in a circle. Back where I started. You got me running in a circle. I'm just trying to find my way back to you. What happened to this? I'm in a circle. Back where I started, I was stuck here like glue. You keep me on the loop. I'm just trying to find my way back to you. What happened to us? I'm in a circle. Back where I started, I was stuck here like glue. You keep me on loop.
Dude, it's all good. I feel refreshed, man. You know, water breaks are so necessary.
How about you give us an introduction and tell us what we have to look forward to today?
If you were a fruit, what fruit would you be?
A banana? All right, so Ruggles, if you could relate yourself or your project, whichever one you want to go with, to a fruit, which fruit would it be and why?
Okay, I'll go with the Eagleverse and banana.
Why banana, bro?
Because every time I speak with H1, it feels like I'm feeling one more piece of that banana, and it keeps getting better and better.
That sounds so
That
wrong.
project is awesome. So every time you think you know it, you know everything about it, it just surprises you.
You're the kind of guy. You're the kind of guy that if you were sat in the same room, you'd be eating a banana and maintaining aggressive eye contact. That's the kind of
pushing the entire thing into his mouth at once.
Yeah.
I think the thing that we'll focus on this week is making sure that you stretch.
I don't know. I reckon a coconut, a green one.
a green coconut. Okay, we've had coconut before, but not a green one. Why?
I don't know, you got to go through the hard stuff before you can get to the good stuff. So
yeah, thanks for asking. I think I would say probably a mango is like a fruit that you think is like pretty good, but when you actually bite into it, you're like, oh, this is delicious and amazing. It's like I'm all about trying to make things fun, make things enjoyable, and maybe a little bit surprising. Like, you know, your own mentality can make such a big difference in your life, your positivity and stuff. And I really, really enjoy being in spaces with all the people here, the other spaces that I've been in, and learning from everybody. So I get really excited, and I hope other people do too.
Hello everybody, it's Crypto Lamb here, and you are indeed watching the Crypto Lamb podcast. Before we introduce today's guest, which is an amazing guest, we have a little bit of an update. Things are really starting to take off and go really fire here with the Crypto Lamb group. We are going full throttle. Hello Priest, how are you doing? Not sure if you can hear me. Probably Elephant, probably Priest is here with us. Look at Andy, so sexy, Sir Ruggles says. Thank you. I got my hair in a ponytail today. Not sure where Priest has gone. Oh well. Well, today we are we do have, of course, an amazing guest, and I will drag them up in just a minute or two. I'm going to bring Ruggles up there as well. I'm not sure if you can speak today, but at least you'll be able to hear. Yeah, so I'm not hearing you. That might be my fault. Let me just check the settings real quick. Yeah, no, it is completely my fault. I do apologize. It's because I had the audio settings set wrong. I'm really, 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 really sorry.
No, that's okay. One of the things about, trying to move things and do so much is we kind of change the way we're broadcasting. So a little bit of inside baseball for people and why we're checking all our inputs and everything is we've been using individual calls to kind of track our guests and our conversations with them so we don't lose that information. However, we recognize we have like 1,000 chats out there now. So it's really difficult to, keep track of where we said one thing versus another. So we're trying to be a little more professional. And with that, I think you might notice that even my profile picture, just like Andy's, we've kind of got our web developer to be, like a full member of the team. We recognize that there are things that Andy, Fizz, and we're not good at. We're not like, and we recognize that we're going to need to help find some people. If we want to achieve what we think we're capable of, we need to recognize our areas of opportunity and be a good leader and empower some other people to help us. So I want to say thank you to, Original MMD for being willing to be a part of our team and understand that, like, where we're starting and all the work he's put in already, or he or she, I think it's a he, and we really appreciate that. So if you see my profile picture, you see Lamb's profile picture up here on the call, this is just some of the stuff that we're going to start rolling out through the next couple of weeks. And one of the other things we kind of recognize is we'd really like to have some kind of highlights from the show. I think we've heard from a bunch of guests that they had a really fun time. And I think we all have a lot of other stuff going on. Fizz has so much going on in the real world right now with his businesses that he has to take care of. That, we have to take all this work that we'd like to do and try to figure out how we're going to do that. And I'm not sure if we're going to share the post-production and pre-production company person that we both, I'm like 99.9% we've brought on. But we look to bring you guys really professional versions of the highlights from our show. We think you guys have a really, really great time, and we think we need to start being as professional as our conversations are with the rest of the stuff for the podcast. And if anyone out there has any updates or any ideas for us, please let us know in our Discord. We're very receptive to trying to meet what you guys think would be a better product. And we'd like to try to be a little more professional. Like I said, we like to get weird with it, and we're definitely not going to be super professional on all the conversations we have. But, if we can make sure we dot our T's and cross our I's and all that kind of jazz, I think it'd be really good. Was that a good enough update, Andy, or did I kind of ramble too much?
No, not at all. That is completely perfect. And kind of to reiterate. Sorry if I end up kind of mirroring more things that you said, but essentially, we are expanding. We are looking to grow and make everything look a lot more shiny and better for everybody, so that your experience as a viewer or a listener, we are going to have, it's just going to be so much better, and you'll see over the next coming days, weeks, months, that it is going to be absolutely epically awesome for you all.
Just to start with that, right? We kind of were talking about how we were getting. Whoop! Sorry, go for it, Rugless.
We just lost guest, man.
I saw.
Yeah. No, I'll bring her back. I think she's having some connection issues or jumping out there. So without further ado, I think we should obviously introduce today's guest, and it's one that I've really been looking forward to because of the work that they do. So rather than rambling on, I will just go ahead and say welcome to the podcast, Pumpkin Queen, aka Rona. Welcome. Introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. It's really exciting. I don't think you're rambling at all, though.
Well, it's I am really excited for what you do. So the work is absolutely amazing. I don't think the guys they may have had a look at the site and things like that, but just for everybody watching and the guys here on this call as well, tell everybody what it is that you've been doing. What is it you do specifically? Because today's not going to be completely about crypto. It's not going to be completely about NFTs. Tell people why.
Well, my team from Serenity and we are three guys. We are three filmmakers, and the three of us are working professionally in the film industry for quite a while now, for 15 years. And we make, for the last, I think, 5 years, we made feature films. So we made 2 feature films in the past couple of years. The first one was Clay's Redemption. It's like a cyberpunky sort of like thriller with fantasy elements. And the second movie we made was Toxica, which is my movie. I directed and wrote it. And Toxica is more like a body horror, Lovecraftian terror, kind of like an action adventure, creepy Indiana Jones movie with influences of Poison Ivy. So yeah, we are storytellers, we are writers, directors. Our third man, Ivo, is our producer. He's in charge that everything goes round, that everybody goes safely from one location to the other, that we can actually put onto the screen what we have on paper, which is a very, very different thing. So we're all creators, world creators, and that's what we do.
So you're all movie makers. You're a director yourself. Is that right? You're a director, producer, and writer, I guess. No.
Yes, I'm a writer, director. I'm also a creative producer, which means I make dresses, sets, and build props. And Carlos as well, same actually. He's also on top of that an editor. He put all our movies together and made some special effects as well. And yeah, I myself also am a horror author, so I also write books.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm just looking at your team here. So obviously yourself, and you mentioned Carlos as well. And I was wondering, if we bring you back in the future to have a show, if it's possible for Carlos to come along as well, because I'm sure Priest would be absolutely ecstatic to know that he also worked on Fallout 3 and World of Warcraft as well.
Yeah. Yes, he worked a lot in video game. I worked a little bit in video game. I worked on Galaxy on Fire, especially Manticore. But Carlos worked on all the big ones. It's so admirable. He would love to talk to you about that.
That's absolutely awesome. And you've obviously got Ivo Alexander as well. So it's we've got you today, which is good enough for me, because I want to really kind of talk about Toxica. Obviously, you've got Clay's Redemption minting now for the trailer. That's not released yet, is it? That's just the trailers right now, is it?
The trailer mint is actually over. We only did a very short but sweet week of trailer mints, which was noir, as in color, black and white, I'm sorry, and neon trailer, as in color, because it's very cyberpunky. So those are gone. You can't mint them anymore. The film is coming out on Saturday, though.
Wow, okay. And that's going to be minted in the same way as Toxica?
Yes, very
Perfect.
similar. I mean, we've learned a lot since Toxica came out, and Toxica was basically us laying the trails while we drove the train. We had no idea what we were doing. So yeah, it was really interesting. We had no idea about NFTs. We only knew about film very well. So yeah, it was us really more or less tumbling around in the dark. Now with Clay, we have observed the community for quite a while. We have observed the market, and we know now what to do better. So Toxica is definitely still out there. You can still mint it. And Clay is coming on Saturday, yes.
That's awesome. Is it, because I mean, obviously people have to mint the trailers. Am I okay to show the trailers on the stream, or would you prefer I didn't?
Oh, you can show them. I mean, you can basically watch them on Pool PM, but yeah.
Okay, well, if
and you have it.
If it's okay with you, I just want to quickly. I'm going to turn my camera off here, and show the browser here, just so I can quickly show both trailers. I'm going to show first of all. I'm going to have to do this in a kind of weird way. So the first trailer I'm going to show is for Toxica. Yeah, Toxica is going to be the first one. It's a very short trailer. It's 11 seconds.
Yes.
So blink and you'll miss it, guys. Here it is. And it's playing again. It's on a loop. There we go. And the second one that we're going to show here is for Clay's Redemption, and this is the I think it might be the noir version. I think. Let's take a look at. No, it's the neon version. I think.
Yes, they're both in there. It's our little promo, so you can make a very nice comparison.
Nice. Oh, I like that. That gives me. I don't want to compare it to anything else and insult you, but it's. I'm getting kind of Sin City kind of vibes from it.
No, sweet. You're not insulting us. I mean, we're all influenced by the giants that came before us. Yeah, but Sin City, I think, was one of the few influences or references Carlos didn't have in mind. But that is the number one influence people tell us about. Is very funny. I think he was going more with. The Killing by Kubrick, and also Blade Runner.
Nice, yeah, no, Blade Runner is definitely a good comparison. So you have the trailer, you have the noir version and the neon edition as well. Does that mean you're going to be able to mint the movie in either of those as well?
Absolutely, yes. That's another novelty we're trying. So you can mint either the neon version or the noir version of the movie.
That's a really cool concept. I like that. So the guys
May I ask a question? I when you're doing both noir and the cyber, punk colors essentially, what changes do you have between the movies outside of the color, or is it just the color? Because I feel like the feel for black and white movies is different than color, and they can kind of call for different levels of like suspense and for different types of establishing shots, etc. Did you guys make any changes, or are they the exact same?
No, it is exactly the same movie, but like you said very well, it is noir version and neon version will give you a very, very different vibe. It is almost, I have to say, like a completely new movie. It is very different because the style is different, the vibe, the feeling is different. And also, Carlos didn't just put a filter, a black and white filter on it. He actually sat there for, I think, the last 8 months and transformed every single scene individually.
No, he didn't.
Yes, into the black and white. Because you
So for
can't
people,
just put a filter on it. Yeah.
no, absolutely. That's what I meant. Like, that's why I wanted to ask if it was the same exact shot for shot, because I was like, how are you reusing that footage? You can't really film in color and then go back to black and white without it like actually looking like you did that.
You have
Yep,
to literally
exactly.
take the color completely out and then work with shadows. How much black and white do you put in? Because every scene is different. So we had comparisons to The Third Man and Gilda and stuff like that, just to see how do black and white scenes that are a little similar from the lighting point of view look, in these movies. And that was basically our reference. Because if you just take out the color, you will be left with something that is entirely soulless and empty. And here it was really necessary to give it back its magic, really.
That's absolutely impressive. Like, I mean, the thing about filmmaking, I'm sure you can tell us is that it's it's more than just having a camera, having an idea. It's an art form. One of the best art forms, in my opinion. I'm a complete cinephile, and I love all the old movies. I love Hitchcock, and going back. You said you're a horror writer as well. I'm sure you can appreciate Hitchcock. And it's I love the stories behind how they made Psycho and things like that. So. What I wanted to ask you was, what kind of challenges did you have with Toxica or Clay's Redemption that we might not know as the viewer that you would like to let us know about?
Oh dear, I try and keep it short. So Clay was basically.
You tell us our story. You don't have to keep it short. You tell us whatever story you want. We try to keep it crypto-centric, right? You have an NFT? Cool. We want to know about your movie. Like, this is awesome. We love this. You nerd out. We enjoy it. Thank you.
And just to let you know as well, you did say that you potentially wanted to come on camera. You can do that. It's on the stream now if you wanted to turn that on. That's entirely up to you.
Oh, okay. No, I'm comfortable this way.
Okay, no problem.
Well, I shall tell you. So, Clay was made throughout the years 2018 and 19. So Carlos we all wanted to make our own movies, right? So Carlos made a beautiful concept of a short film concept of a feature film he was trying to get made for a very long time. And he just ran out of patience, as we all do, So after a certain amount of years, you just, you're not getting any younger. You have to move on. So he said, look, I want to do something just for fun. I wanna just put it together like Robert Rodriguez had done with, for example, El Mariachi. What do you have for free? What can you make yourself? And that is the movie you make. So Carlos is a big Blade Runner fan. He's a big fan of Kubrick's older films. And he just packed me and his son and Ivo and said, you know what, let's just film. And our friend Aki, who is the lead actor in Clay, he was back in the days, I think the biggest role he had was in Everly with Salma Hayek. He was the co-lead. Now he works for Marvel and Disney and DC. He was in the latest Batman movie, and he was really unsure if he can carry an entire movie on his shoulders, right? So we kind of just said, look, let's shoot every weekend, right? Once a week for 1 2 days, we just go out there and guerrilla shoot the whole thing. So we didn't really have permissions. We had a teeny tiny Blackmagic camera. We put a CCTV lens on top of it, which was like $12 on the internet, and because it is very perfect in low light. So we filmed the whole thing, had a couple of handheld lights with us, and winged the thing more or less in Chinatown, London, and Soho, and in a couple of locations where we knew the owners. So that is basically how we did it. And after a couple of months, Carlos, because he was editing as he was filming, so he said, look, I think I can finish this movie myself because it might take another couple of years until someone gives me enough money to finish it. So we maxed out the credit cards, all of ours, and finished Clay. And afterwards, it was immediately sold for once in a different version, obviously, and it came onto streaming. And after it was out, when Toxica was already filmed, it turned out that we didn't make any money with it, and we still had those empty credit cards, and we thought, we kind of like have to pay that rent. How are we doing it? So we tried the same again. We tried to sell Carlos's thriller idea. I had a horror western I wanted to make for a very long time, and I was just about to get it made when they said, look, you haven't directed Clay. We don't know if you're able to direct a feature film. Because I basically made the costumes and sets in Clay, and I executive produced it. I paid a lot of money for it as well. And and so Carlos said, let's do this again. We know now that we can make a feature. Let's make a bigger feature. So we sat down, reverse engineered the whole thing once again, sold basically every life insurance we had. And, I had an inheritance. My guardian, my grandfather passed away that year. So I had a little bit of an inheritance, which could at least keep me going through the first shooting block. So we had practical effects. We had driving shots where we hung out of the back of a convertible at night on a full highway in London and just filmed our vintage motorbike. We filmed in Indonesia. We filmed in London, in Brighton, and down the seaside. And we also had a lot of fight scenes. So we had long, short fight scenes where you don't cut much. You see people kick each other in the face for 10 minutes straight without cutting more than twice. And that was something I insisted on. It was something I wanted to show that I'm able to do it. And it was more of a proof to say to Hollywood, look, I can not only direct drama, I can also do fighting shots, driving. I can do practical effects, I can body transformations. That's very difficult to do. And I also made the costumes. I made the sets again. Carlos made sure that everything went right. He got me the locations. We time banked for some of them because we didn't have much money. So we went there and just worked for them, like collecting trash or bartending or security guarding. And they counted the hours we were there, and we could have those hours for shooting. And that was basically how we did Toxica. So we just doubled, tripled, quadrupled down on what we had already done with Clay and showed that we can do more just to get our movies made we actually wanted to get made. Now, in hindsight, I think we're pretty proud of having made Clay and Toxica because Clay is its own beast. It is very clearly Carlos's style. Toxica is, in terms of storytelling, very much my style. I mean, I like the poison ivy effect in it. I like the body transformations, So, I mean, 2.5 years later, we had 2 movies ready. And then we were done shooting with Toxica 2 days before the pandemic. And suddenly we had a movie, but we didn't know what to do with it. So we used the lockdown to finish the story. And just to edit it all together, color graded, made special effects, sound design, everything. And the problem we had previously to that was in Clay, we were just going with the flow. In Toxica, the whole movie was shot on plan C and D because plan A and B never worked out. Everything that could possibly go wrong went wrong. If there was a thunderstorm and no trains and we had to pay extra to get Ubers to our location, to people not turning up. It was just like nothing went right. And at some point we had to change the story multiple times in a way it still made sense, like the whole thing. Like you make a movie basically 4 times. You write it, you film it, you edit it together, and you get music done. and sound, and you have 4 different movies. So yeah, we were in lockdown. We had the experience of how traditional feature film distribution worked with Clay. We knew what happened. We knew how this was going. And we had a lot of offers for Toxica because lockdown, people didn't finish their movies. They couldn't film anymore, and we had a finished movie. However, they said, well, we didn't produce your film. And so we don't want to give you all the rights for example, remakes, prequel, sequel, book rights, So I couldn't sign it. It also was next to no income for us. So, I couldn't pay cast and crew anything, let alone myself. And so we decided to just go out and drink after the lockdown was eased a little. And we boozed a lot, we danced a lot. And this is the unbelievable story of us meeting the right person at the right time. A friend of Carlos's who was in his band and said, he just bought a house because he traded in crypto. And we thought, maybe we can fill up the holes in our bank account. And that was how we were introduced to Cardano, basically. And just, try to do something new. But yeah, in general, making those movies was really, it's a boot camp. You cannot be precious about working hours. We worked in pouring rain, we worked in winter. We worked in streets and sideways where people peed right next to us while we shot a punching scene there. So it just happens, you have to really have a thick skin and expect everything to go wrong. So you better have a plan C and D.
So explain to us a little bit about how the business and financial model works in blockchain movies. We're used to standing in line, buying a ticket, going in and seeing a movie, and now your distribution involves minting and crypto and Cardano. So explain to us a little bit about the model that you've developed.
Oh my goodness. Well, we basically talked to our friend a lot, and he just explained to us what NFTs are in general. Then he introduced us to other filmmakers who were all on Ethereum or Solana or other blockchains. And we looked into them. I spent a lot of time listening to their spaces, finding out which blockchain resonates more with us. Where do we feel most comfortable, and where can we do something remarkable? Where can we just, do something unique? So he explained to us about Cardano because he is on Cardano, and he introduced us to a technical team, and the guys are called Retro NFTs. So Retro NFTs have basically built the 3D aquarium of Bitfins, which was interesting. And we talked to them and said, look, all these filmmakers on other blockchains have basically links. So you have to mint a PFP, comes with a link or a ticket, and you go somewhere else and watch the movie. It sounds a bit complex. I said, look, if you have to click more often to watch a movie on a blockchain than you have to click to log into Netflix, I don't think this is a very efficient way, right? And some of them were short films, and there was no feature film. They were all up to 20 minutes. Everything that was longer than 20 minutes had like a reduction of quality, which we didn't want because we shot it in high resolution and 4K. We want this to be like represented, obviously. And sound design, same thing. And we found a couple of features later on that were released in an episodic way. So I didn't want to butcher Toxica or Clay and release it 10 minutes at a time. So they said, look, there are no movies as NFTs. We don't know if that is possible. And we might have to build that technology on top of Hoskinson's already established technology. So we gave them time. We all worked together on this, but Retro NFTs were the ones who, after 3.5 months, called us and said, I think we found a way to put an entire feature film in high quality, sound and visuals, as an NFT. And that was basically when we started testing it. Does it really work? And it did. It did work marvelously, better than we thought. And we said, look, I think we have found a way of not only sustaining filmmakers' life, but also bringing back original stories, not just going in circles in Hollywood and remaking and rebooting, prequeling and sequeling everything, because we have our own ideas, obviously, more of those, like enough of those. So yeah, that was basically retro NFTs building new technology, and now we're repeating the whole thing with clay again.
Wow. So just to kind of expand on that a little bit. So so the whole movie is available to buy as an NFT. So how many copies are available of Toxica, for example? And how does that work? Can somebody own that and then resell it if they want to, or once they bought it, they own it? Or yeah, how does that work? Is there a secondary marketplace, that kind of thing?
Absolutely. No, all of that actually. So Toxica is basically like you own the rights as if you would buy a DVD. Like you have the DVD, but you don't own the movie rights. You cannot sell it to Netflix, or you cannot make a prequel out of it or a sequel or whatever. So that means Toxica is basically not a DVD deluxe edition. It's more a historical collectible because it is a pioneering token, basically. It hasn't been done before. So most people have bought one. They have bought more than one. They keep one for themselves. And we have already seen some of them coming up on secondary market for a hell of a lot of money, which is outrageous, and we love it. But it is also the case, that it shows the value in our work. It shows the value in us as a company. And we're also a film club, we're not just movie makers. We reunite people with movies all the time. We advocate movies first. That is the most important thing for us, And you can buy them on secondary market. I mean, Toxica was out 1,000 copies, which was a lot. And we didn't know about numbers at all. So 1,000 in the film industry is next to nothing. So we thought it was little, small number. So now the thing is that Toxica is not available. I think we have like 10 movies or less than 10 movies available now at the current time. So with clay, we don't want to hang around for 8 months more to sell the movie. So with clay, we will have a significant smaller amount of movies. So basically, we have our whitelist coming up on the 17th of September. And depending on how many people buy the movie on the whitelist, we double that amount. And that is the amount of movies we send out there for a month. And you can buy that amount of movies, and there's no more. You can only buy them on secondary market, as it is the case with trailers at the moment.
That's really, really cool. I really, really want to watch Toxica. So how do you navigate the problem of potential piracy? Now, the thing is, obviously, if somebody's going to mint a movie, you would probably ask yourself, why would they bother, potentially trying to pirate that or show that on a website or upload it to YouTube or whatever. So, I mean, if they buy that, they're probably not going to want to do that. They're going to want to resell it, right? But let's say, for example, a couple of years down the line, somebody has this movie and decide that they want to stream it somewhere themselves. Is there something in place for you guys to be able to deal with that, or are you not too bothered about that, or where's your stance on that?
I have actually. Well, I think minting a movie for 100 ADA and then putting it out there for everyone to watch for free would be rather silly. And I think that our mint or like our holders know that. They know that very well. I think one guy asked, "Can I put it out on YouTube?" And our entire tribe said, "Well, obviously you should not do that because it does diminish the value of the token. If you make it available for everyone, you've just spent 100 ADA for nothing. It just doesn't have a value anymore." And I think he was fairly new, like us, back in the days in the community, but he learned it rather quickly that it's like a PFP. Of course, you can use it as a background or wallpaper or whatever. But if you share it, if you give it to everybody for nothing, it just doesn't have that value anymore. And I think it just defeats the purpose of it. However, saying that, clay, for example, was indeed pirated a hell of a lot when it was out there for streaming for a little while. And it actually benefited us. It actually got us way more eyeballs on our future projects like Toxica and on Clay itself, you know. You had so many more people who wrote a review. So it obviously, you know, every review boosts you up there a little bit, makes you more seen, more visible to film industry. So that was actually a good thing. However, it was a streaming movie, right? So if it would have been a token, I think we would have been rather upset. I do not have any intention to release it on YouTube for free. It's way too much work, time, love, and money in it. But we obviously never say never to streaming. You know, I mean, we have still quite some offers from big streaming services who would like to have the movie. So at some point further down the road, we might actually re-edit it, make a new version out of it, because the Toxica version for Cardano is quite unique. It has something you don't get anywhere else. And yeah, if it should come to streaming, we would obviously do it because we all want to have more eyeballs in our movies. You know, we want it to be seen. That's why we make it. But it will be a different version.
May I ask a question? What about like if we bought your movie that comes out on Saturday and we like watched it in our Discord, like with our group together, like our friends, like not necessarily for the whole community, but like what if we watched it? Would you consider that like piracy? Because like I mean that in a real way, right? Because personally, like if we can afford to buy, like we would all buy it, right? Like I'm not sure, but like who knows who's gonna be available to do that, etc. I don't have any Cardano. Real talk. Sorry, I'm a noob. I'm working on it and trying to get everything everywhere. But like you were talking about, right? Like piracy in and of itself isn't actually that bad of a thing as long as the thing that you're trying to sell out there is available for people in a reasonable way, right? Like the reason why people are okay with piracy on a community level is generally because like the thing that they're trying to buy is either gatekeep for the country they're in, or they can't find a way to buy it without having to spend like an arm and a leg for it. And I don't think that your NFTs are an arm and a leg in any way, shape, or form. So like, what about like small scale, right? Like I don't want to upload it to YouTube. That's really effed up. But like, what if I wanted to like show it to my friends who aren't into NFTs, right? Like, 'cause we all have those people in our lives who are not on the blockchain yet, right? Like, and I think one of the reasons we like to have these conversations is to let people know that there's not just people scamming on the blockchain, right? Like, there's movies that are now available, and like, if I had the opportunity to like stream that with like some of my real life gamer friends, like I would really appreciate that. And I don't want to do that to be like a whatchamacallit. Like, is this like buying a VHS tape and I'm having my friends come over, or is this like me being a dickhead? I'm not sure, and I'd rather be like honest with this whole point of having these people honest to get your opinions from Pumpkin. So.
Oh, to be honest, we already had streamings with the proxies and with the cuties and with Billy Martin. So we already did stream our movie for our own tribe, you know, for our Discord and for our holders. But to be honest, what you said with releasing it, you know, and pirating it and releasing it for free, that was exactly the reason we actually ventured into NFTs, to make filmmaking life sustainable again. Because despite us working for studios and in the film industry professionally for over 1.5 decades, it is not sustainable anymore. You know, it becomes more and more difficult if you know, because the industry is not as big as you think it is. It's rather small. And Hollywood has changed a lot, and we watched it do so throughout the lockdown while we still finished Toxica. You know, we're in the middle of finishing the whole thing. So yeah, we said, look, I don't want to put it out there for nothing. I don't want to put it on streaming where it disappears in 2 days, as it had happened with Clay, you know, because so many movies are coming out. It's just so immense. And, you know, some people could play on, yeah. But the thing is, if you put it on YouTube or something, that's nice. Someone can watch it. Hopefully it inspires someone. But, you know, we are not going to make another movie because we simply can't afford to. And, you know, the chance that someone sees your work on YouTube is rather small.
It's really, absolutely.
So I personally am not a big fan of pirating. I always have an eye on YouTube, you know, because I simply want to make sure that my cast and crew gets at least a little bit of a payment for the work they did 2 years ago.
Sure.
Because they haven't, you know, they just have worked for this. And obviously we would like to fill up our credit cards to not have a debt anymore. But other than that, it's just important for us to find a sustainable filmmaking lifestyle again.
Absolutely.
One of the things I think is interesting is the stuff that you're saying is what I believe Spielberg and George Lucas were saying about how like these big budget movies, these tentpole movies, are actually changed Hollywood. That like all the movies that like, I mean, I liked growing up because I kind of liked rom-coms, right? Like rom-coms were like a date movie, but they were also like a way to like actually kind of understand like the interpersonal relationships, that like how like healthy relationships can be. And like you don't have those kind of movies anymore, right? Like where's Fatal Attraction? Where is Entrapment, right? Where are these movies that are not, comic book movie, but that are still these amazing stories? And like, when you talked about being episodic and going like these 10-minute shorts, have you thought about maybe making something along the lines of like how like this is now like the golden age of what they call television now? Is that like something you consider, or do you think that telling movies in like that 2-hour-ish time frame is something that you can continuously do? Because like as a horror writer, I like wonder if that's something that you would like to try to get to, where you could like continuously do like a different episode and maybe something along your own lines, or if you really like having the challenge of the limit of time that you have to tell a complete story.
Well, it depends very much on the format of the story we are writing. So, for example, we are now working on our third film. It will be Carlos's turn again to direct, and his story will be very well adaptable for both film and streaming, episodic. So both would work, but he has to make up his mind what kind of story he wants to tell. In my case, it is a little bit easier. My horror western I want to make since I think 2015. That would definitely be a movie. It's like 7 in the Wild West. So that would definitely be a nice 2-hour film. However, the next novel I'm writing, I'm currently finishing up one, I'm writing the next one afterwards, would be a perfect TV miniseries, like 7 episodes or something, like 40 minutes each. It would be amazing. So yeah, it really depends how, because we're all not big fans of stretching out, just for the sake of it, or shortening for the sake of it. I mean, film has changed immensely, and you are right. I mean, we are prohibited a little bit, and that's Hollywood's fault a little bit, to be honest, to find the next Robert Rodriguez or the next Sam Raimi or the next Peter Jackson, because what we did with Clay and Toxica hasn't been done since probably the 90s, telling an original story and reverse engineering something. And because we didn't want to give in to painting by numbers, like what people told us, oh, this has to happen, that has to happen, it has to be a show, it has to be a film, And we said, well, I don't know yet, I have to find out what it is and what works best for the story, because story comes first, obviously. So yeah, Hollywood has become a little restrictive in that concern. I think that NFTs here, once again, is a brilliant opportunity to say, okay, I'm releasing a web series or I'm releasing a feature film, and I do it the way I want to do it. And hopefully there's some quality control because my team, has a proper producer or someone who knows what he's doing. So that is obviously something I think we would like to explore more with NFTs. We haven't figured it out yet, but we would like to see how far we can push it. And Clay being released in 2 different editions, in black and white and in color, that is our first step towards it. Because once again, that hasn't been done before. So now with Toxica, we released the first feature as NFT. We know this works. With Clay, we see, okay, how about we release 2 different versions of the same movie? And with our next film, let's see where we are going. We don't know yet,
So I've got quite a few questions now. My brain's been ticking away in the background. So you mentioned first of all, I'll start with this one first. So you mentioned that you want to create your Western horror film.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Oh, don't get me started. I can talk about it for hours. So I try not to, but 7 years ago, I had this great novel idea. I started writing a story about a woman, a very old lady, like late 80s in the 1870s. in Alaska, and she gets kind of like she meets a wolf in the snowy forest, and for some reason she's not really scared. But later the wolf gets scared, and something else comes out of the woods. So it's a creature feature. It has Native American influence, but it's not a Wendigo because we've seen that story 85,000 times. So this one is more like a cop movie, like I mentioned, Seven. Basically, someone is out there who follows a plan, and it is about two cops who are very different, who have different agendas, and are out there to do, to give their job different purposes, and are in different stages of life. Back in the days, I wrote it for Johnny Depp, but he's a bit old now. Oh, I'm sorry, Johnny. But unfortunately, you have outgrown the role of Leo. So now I'm working with, thinking of other actors. But it's a very young woman, like a rookie, who wants to do all the right things as a cop. And he's already been through all this, he's already on the next level. He just, made peace with the fact that he might just be a little Alaska village cop for the rest of his lives. But both of them have secrets, things have happened in their lives. And then there's this creature out there. And what I wanted to do is I really wanted to, for one, film it similar to Toxica, like long shot fight scenes, not many cuts, everything in one go, practical effects for the creature transformation, and it was incredibly gory, and I loved it so much. And I found out that it was not a novel. It was, I have written the novel since, but I'm not very happy with it. So I sent it out to my agent, and she said, that would be an amazing story for a feature film. And I kind of like made a package, like an investment package. What are similar movies? Why would you give me money to make this film? The thing is that Westerns have not had a comeback in a very long time. So people are obviously always a little bit anxious when it comes to period pieces, Western, and then it's all shot in ice and snow. You can't studio that. You have to go to Alaska. And practical effects, and fight scenes. So everything was rather expensive. And I think now that I have made Toxica, I am more than ready to dive into a high concept and high, effects and practical effects and very over the top horror Western. I think Toxica was really the perfect boot camp to do something like that. I think Cardano would be actually perfect to get that movie made.
That's so awesome. I've got so many things flying around my head as you're talking about that. I'm thinking Tim Roth in Tin Star. I'm thinking Hateful Eight, things like that. So, in that kind of thing.
Revenant.
The Revenant, exactly. Yeah, I mean, how could I forget The Revenant? Oh my God. So the other thing I was thinking as well, I actually am located currently in the south of Spain, and one of the places literally about an hour away from me is a place called Almeria. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Almeria, but that's where they used to film all of the original spaghetti Western movies, all the John Wayne movies and things like that.
And Leone, yes. Oh my goodness.
So you're well aware of it then. So I'm just because you ended up mentioning Alaska and obviously snow and things. I was going to say if you're down this way and you're filming a Western in Almeria, for example, we could meet up. Maybe I could do a little kind of behind the scenes segment for Crypto Lamb or whatever. But by the sounds of it, that's not going to happen if it's in ice and snow, right?
I'm a big sucker for everything that is like ice and snow, and you can work with light so well. It's going to be such a blast to really making this eerie but elegant and enchanting film. It won't be a gritty, grimy movie like Tarantino sometimes tends to do. It will be pretty, but it will be very, very gruesome. And I think ice and snow is just the perfect a background for all that.
I like that as well, especially if there's going to be blood as well. Blood on snow is something special about that. Yes. So, no, I was going to ask as well, what kind of, because with everything you're talking about, you obviously like the horror, you obviously like the, I lack the vocabulary for this, but you like that kind of world of storytelling in movies. Do you draw any sort of inspiration from Rob Zombie at all?
You see, Rob Zombie is someone I can watch when I have a really bad day. And afterwards, I tend to clean my house because I feel I need it. And I have a long shower because he makes me feel like I really need to clean everything. I do, however, really, really like most of his stories. I love the Lords of Salem. I'm a bit witchy fan, you know. So Lords of Salem was something I adored because it looks stunning. It looks great. It looks still grimy, but he has a kind of like an eeriness to it, like a psychedelic trip almost, and I really like that one. So yeah, I think Zombie on a rainy day, I definitely gonna watch him. Yeah.
No, that's really cool. Again, I'm just trying to draw parallels to some people I might be aware of that you might know. Maybe you can tell us of some influences that we might not be aware of. I mean, who are your bigger influences for movies and storytelling in that respect?
Oh, it does change, to be honest. I mean, I started with very neon colored gothic music videos and short films in the very beginning. So everything was almost glittery, neon pink, neon green, neon blue, but with very harsh, dark, long gothic shadows. That is something you will see in Toxica as well, because I am a big fan of long gothic shadows that preferably move. And in Toxica, it was the first time my shadows moved like they were alive, like they were their own entity, which is something I definitely want to do in my Western again. But I think my influence from a directorial view, I mean, I love Tim Burton a lot. I think Tim Burton is a one of a kind. I mean, Sleepy Hollow is my all-time favorite movie. I think it's perfection. Seriously, that movie is just right on perfect. Wouldn't change the scene. And I also love Brian De Palma, who has this really strange, you're never really sure if this is real or not. He's like a nightmare, but not in a David Lynch way, but in a more like subtle way. So Brian De Palma has stories that just make me cry. I mean, we recently watched Blowout, which I had never heard of before, with John Travolta in his very young years, and it was just incredible. I cried at the end like a little pumpkin. It was so amazing and so like blood curdling as well. And I also love David Fincher. I think David Fincher is one of the only people, the only directors on this planet who can sit two amazing actors on a table and let them talk for 10 minutes and you're not bored. You have to be able to pull that off. That is very difficult. And I think Fincher was a very big influence for me in Toxica. How do I make this dynamic, even though people just in 2 or 3 scenes sit and talk? Because you don't have your Tim Burton graveyard all the time. You don't have your moving shadows all the time. So we enchanted it as much as possible with my nightlight, which was amazing for this. I have a very amazing nightlight, which can transform your entire room into an aquarium. So it's all practical in the movie. But it was really, how do you film this dynamically? I think David Fincher has absolutely perfected that.
So that's... I can't say that I know who that is. I'm going to have to Google that. I feel like such a noob admitting that, but I'm definitely going to... I'm definitely going to...
Oh, please. No. He's a noob for this. Let's be honest. If he knows who David Fincher movies are, he just doesn't know the name. So go look it up. Let's give it like 35 seconds for you to feel bad about yourself. Then we can move on.
Oh, okay. All right. Let me go ahead and Google.
Look it up. Yeah, you do too. So Pumpkin, one of the things I wanted to ask is like with your horror movie influences, it seems that like there's a lot of buildup of suspense, right? Like in Hitchcock specifically, he said he wanted to go as long as possible. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. So Hitchcock was specifically trying to go as long as possible before showing the big baddie, right? Like, what is your kind of philosophy on that? Because I think that's kind of changed throughout the years, and I don't know. I feel like that could be a good segment while Andy composes himself and then apologizes to the listeners.
Yeah, I'm sorry, everybody. Now I am completely aware of who David Fincher is. I'm sorry.
Oh, absolutely. You have to catch up on Mindhunter as well.
For sure.
Oh yeah, no, I watch him. I watch 7 at least once a year. Probably Priest. I actually forgot your question right away when you asked it. Can you repeat it?
No, you're good. I was just wondering, like, what your philosophy is on the building of suspense, and like, do you subscribe to the Hitchcock with the hold off as long as possible, or do you think that there are other ways to build that?
It was something I had to learn because prior to Toxica, I had made music videos and wildlife documentaries. So I was a diver. I did a lot of underwater documentaries. I made a lot of crazy as hell music videos for gothic bands, heavy metal bands, where you can just test all the areas of crazy effects and everything. So in Toxica, it was the first time, and I had written the script, and I thought, okay, how am I pulling this off to make it interesting, right? So obviously you have references to other movies, and they're not always horror movies. You know, you have movies like Pulp Fiction or Chinatown or whatever. They're not horror movies, but they pull off amazing tension. Or The Untouchables, you know, does a very good job. LA Confidential. So I was watching rather those movies and thinking, okay, how are they putting off tension? Because if you go with the horror jump scare, I'm not a big fan of those. They're not very effective. You know, you might just not manage to scare your audience. And while I believe personally that Toxica will not scare the hell out of you, it will at the very least, make you very uncomfortable and also question your hero. You know, like the person you have just spent 2 hours or 1.5 hours with, you have gotten to know and you have sympathized with. So it might make you question that character and might even evoke a couple of questions for yourself. You know, how far would you go if you could get away with everything? So I would say it was tricky. We filmed certain scenes in multiple paces. Sometimes we made a quick shot of the same scene, then we dragged it out. But I always tried to drag it out in a way that I could cut in more than one position, you know, just in case I could cut here, okay, I can cut there. And the good thing is that Carlos and I are both editors, so we edit the movie together as we shoot it in our heads, right? So you avoid having some silly mistakes later on or uncomfortable surprises. So I was just filming certain scenes in certain different ways. I also must say I had a very good conversation with my monster maker. So the guy who made the Lovecraftian Flower, he worked for Ridley Scott. He worked on Aliens and Alien 3 and Covenant, Prometheus. He worked on his house, you know, on all the big. He even made armor for Troy and Gladiator. So he's around for a while. And he's a friend of ours, a very close friend. And Brandon said to me, look, sometimes you can film stuff like this or like that. And he sent me a couple of references. And I just tried them. You know, I filmed everything 3-4 different ways and followed my intuition. So I would say, depending on the scare, depending on the pace of your movie, you always have to really, just trust your intuition, because filming the movie and editing it together and watching it later on are completely different things. Like, this movie looks nothing what I wanted to or what I had in mind. It looks different, but it looks still interesting. But I think it's very difficult to do horror, I have to say, and I learned a lot from making Toxica.
It can't be an easy thing. I actually I used to be really, really into horrors. I like, every movie I would watch would be a horror, and I actually stopped watching horrors, and I wasn't interested anymore, especially when you all of a sudden had this flood of horrors that came on that were just all jump scares. That's all they did. There was no, in my opinion, there was no real clever writing behind them. It was the same recycled thing over and over again, where it was just jump scares, and then you would have that, you know, typical violin screech every time it happened, and I just stopped watching them purely because of that. You know, what happened to the build-up? What happened to the clever writing? What happened to the twists and turns? You know, it was just all about trying to frighten people, you know, by making them jump. And to me, that's not a horror. That's my opinion.
Oh yeah, it's a formula. It's a studio idea to give you a jump scare every 10 minutes, and that is literally the case. So every 10 minutes you have to have something that kind of like makes your audience wake up when nothing has happened. And also a jump scare basically is in a way a catalyst for you to release tension. So a jump scare doesn't scare you. You know, it comes up and the first reaction you have to a jump scare is you laugh. You know, you're laughing, you're releasing the tension. And the thing is that when you do so, you might have forgotten all about it right after. Like the next second the story goes on, you don't remember anymore because your brain subconsciously doesn't do it. And that's why I'm a big fan of slow burn. You know, like in Toxica, the first 30 minutes, we almost only build up the character. But the end effect, it is not a boring build-up. You know, we get to know her in different moments of her life. But also, later on, we just understand her more. We feel for her more, and we are upset more. And with these characters, we know nothing about them. And that is not, for the studio, you know, it's not the studio's problem. It's more that people are no longer able, at least most audiences are no longer able to stick with a movie that is slow burn. You know, they want everything all at once right now. And that has become a new formula for studios. So if you make a slow burn, you have to counter it with a lot of other things. You know, your setting has to be much better. You have to have much better effects. You know, you have to just put in much more story to not bore your audience, because that is the biggest sacrilege you can possibly do, is being boring. You rather be a bad film, but you cannot be a boring film.
It's all about that instant gratification, right? You know, it's all there at everybody's fingertips. I feel now sometimes when you watch a movie trailer for some of these big productions, you've watched the entire film in the trailer, and there's no point watching the film itself. But it's like, I think I think that the way you're doing things is it's pure, it's art, and you should absolutely carry on doing what you're doing. And it's like, I was just thinking of jump scares. It's like when I watched Insidious for the first time, I thought it was a really good concept. I thought it was a great movie, but then I just felt there was just unnecessary jump scares in it. They didn't need to be there, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people disagree with me, but that's art, right? You know, people see it how they want to see it. But then I was thinking, you know, how was a similar jump scare done better? And the only one I could think of was going back to the original Exorcist movie, where you see Reagan, where the camera kind of pans to Reagan for a second, but it's a different face. It's almost like the devil, and it's only for a split second. And if you blink, you don't see it. But it's like the perfect mix of jump scare and like, holy crap, did I just see that? You know.
Because things are turning up, but that is also because they play it fits the concept, right? What The Exorcist is, it fits the concept, that kind of scare. And The Exorcist 3, for example, has one of the all-time best jump scares you will ever see. If you go on YouTube and you Google Exorcist 3 jump scare, it still haunts me. I mean, you can never rip that off because it is so iconic, and you shouldn't. You should value it and respect it. But you're right. I mean, with jump scares, it depends on the audience. I mean, I have friends who say, "Oh, I find jump scares really scary." I personally, I'm probably because I'm a filmmaker, but I'm also a little too psychological to things like that. And I think about it, and I think a proper, substantial slow burn will lead, for example, Alien. You know, you think about it longer. And if I ask you, what did creep you out in Alien or in The Exorcist 3, you could tell me, or in The Exorcist, right? If I say, what creeped you out in Insidious 2 or, I don't know, Conjuring 3, you might not be able to tell me. You know, the first movies have some iconic jump scares, which are great. But these are iconic because they're the first movies, right? And they have been made that way with a specific thought in mind. It fits the concept. But it gets old very quickly, unfortunately, and at some point it wears off. When you see too many, your body is kind of like, your brain is timed. Oh, like, okay, now 10 minutes are over. I wait for the next one.
It's you just kind of, it happens, you're like meh, just waiting for you want something original, and it's, but again, I suppose that comes to the instant gratification. It's like you're not getting that dopamine hit anymore, when you see that recycled. It's like with the original Poltergeist, I loved it because of the way it was constructed, and it's the whole kind of turning around to the parents, like, they're here, it's like all of that kind of stuff. But it wasn't exactly a scary movie, I don't think, but it was the way it was done that kept me hooked watching it, but I think that was redone recently, but I haven't seen it. I think it was done over the last couple of years, but I haven't seen the remake of it. But but it's but no, it's I mean, every bit of storytelling is unique, but I think some horrors now come across as more like comedies rather than actually being horrors. So it's it's like the whole, people get kind of that typical vibe from it. It's like as soon as you see a black guy on screen, it's like, oh well, he's the first to die. It's that kind of thing where people have this kind of preconceived notion of the film. Why is she running up the stairs? Why is she not running out the door? That kind of thing, like in Scream, for example. So there's always that kind of thing. So I really like seeing work like yours, like with Toxica. Obviously, they're not necessarily horrors, right? I mean, I haven't seen them. So yeah, I mean, Clay would be the Neon Sin City kind of noir kind of feel, cyberpunk feel that I think was the word you used. Where would you fit Toxica in terms of a genre?
I have to say, both our movies are genre mixed. So Clay, if you tell someone it's a fantasy story like Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman, or American Gods, they will believe you. If you say it's a cyberpunk, they will believe you. It's like it has a demon in it, it has old gods in it. So it's all made in a way. It could be multiple things, really, depending on how you're feeling today, probably, but it still has this very unique vibe. Toxica is definitely a horror film, but it is it's more like slow burn body horror with Lovecraftian elements,
right?
And a thriller.
I love how it's kind of open to interpretation. I'm going to shut up for a second because I've still got loads of questions, and I think Priest and Fizz want to talk.
Well, yeah, I want to make sure Fizz talks because I know I cut him off at least once, and I know Andy, you're going to nerd out.
Yeah, I could sit here and nerd out forever,
with
man.
Pumpkin. And I know I can too on that front. But I messaged Fizz. Do you have something, man? You've been like getting ready to talk the whole time, bro.
Yeah, sorry, dude.
Fizz, you're muted.
You're muted, dude.
But what I was gonna say is
you proceed to let Fizz talk and then cut him off.
Where do you think? Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. You can.
I think there's a bit of a. I think there's a bit of a delay on you there, Priest. Sorry, dude.
Yeah, is that mine or is that coming through for everybody?
No. I think he's got a bit of a delay on his line there. Carry on, dude. What were you going to say, Fizz?
Oh, I'm fascinated with this model of NFT minting and that being your distribution model. What has the feedback been from the industry as a whole on your distribution method?
First of all, I love your mask. It's really rock and roll. You know what? They are still, I think we are still early to the party. We represent Toxica in a couple of film festivals later this year, including Sitges, which is the biggest indie horror and sci-fi festival. So, yeah, the thing is they are still a little bit scared of it. indie filmmakers are not sure if NFTs are here to stay. And I think they're still a little bit unsure if they really want to get into it, because it does involve going down a rabbit hole, starting all over, learning something new, and connecting with your tribe on a daily level. So on a daily basis. So I think they're still a bit scared of making that big step, and rather wait to see how it turns out for us. So the thing is, now with the bear market, I'm not quite sure where we are. As soon as the bear market is over, I can absolutely see how lucrative or how effective it was to release Toxica as an NFT. But so far, we're really just trying to very gently guide people towards NFTs and talking to them to take away the fear a little bit. I mean, in the film industry, obviously, it has increased the interest in Toxica. Now people who had turned us down before are coming and want the movie. Now we can obviously say, okay, let's see, what kind of edition we can make for you. But I think it will take a little longer. What I'm very proud of is that it was us doing this as in indie filmmakers. Because if Hollywood would have done it first, I think, like Kevin Smith, I think, talked about it 2 months before we even knew what an NFT was. However, he hadn't released it until 3 months after Toxica came out. So his movie also is not an NFT. It is a PFP that gets you a link to watch 10 minutes of a web series. So it wasn't quite the same thing. I think as soon as Hollywood comes in, it will definitely draw more attention, because we're indie filmmakers after all. We're not public figures, we're not famous, which is fine. But when Hollywood comes in, I think then we will definitely draw more attention. Say, well, we've done it. We beat you to it a couple of years prior. But so until then, we're really just celebrating that we, for us, have found a path. And that we, for us, can pave that path a little further and build a bridge between NFTs and film. And when these peers of ours in the film industry are ready, finally, at some point, we can open the gate and say, oh, here, you can just walk it. We've done the heavy lifting for you. We've pioneered the whole thing. But now, look what we have done, and choose what you want to do with your film, right? And we can introduce them to NFTs and to the realm of Cardano.
I definitely think it's a great move to go down that rabbit hole. I mean, even if you do it once and you find out, okay, well, maybe this isn't for us in the future. Maybe we want to go down a different method of distribution. But definitely a good idea. I think it's novel. People are going to jump on it, and I especially love the way that you've taken the protagonist from Toxica and you've turned that into an NFT as well. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, actually, that was completely coincidental. So when we went towards Cardano, we actually already had the roadmap built, right? So we had a movie, we had behind the scenes, we had a gag reel, we had making ofs, we had audio commentary, and we had artwork from this artist who was very inspired by Toxica, by Augusta Ilex, and he sent us a basic picture of her and in layers. So Carlos said, okay, this is nice. Maybe we can print it out as a sticker or something, or on a hat or on a bag, and just give it to people. I don't know, on a screening. And when we came to Cardano, we just built up that roadmap, and Retro NFT said, how do I get the behind the scenes? How do I get all that stuff? How do I get the movie poster? Because you can print a Toxica movie poster, the official one, in super high quality. I have it in my living room, actually. It's beautiful. It's massive. And we said, well, we have that artwork from this guy, right? And Carlos just delayered it, I don't know, and made a couple of more backgrounds and different styles. And I mean, Augusta's clothes are all inspired by 1990s icons, because Toxica, I'm a 90s girl. I love the 90s. And it's all inspired by 90s movies like The Crow, or, all these things. And, or the Relic. And Carlos was inspired by Britney Spears' red catsuit in Hit Me Baby One More Time, for one, and then obviously Catwoman in the Batman animated series. One is inspired by the Oscars, and another one is inspired by the original outfit, the denim, like the jeans. And we decided to do different Augustas, and they have different rarities, different things she uses in the movie, like her Zippo or her butterfly knife, flower, the secret map, the ancient map, stuff like that. And each of those, and obviously the vines, coming out of her chest. So each of those give you a different utility. It's like a little key that unlocks something about the movie for you. Even if you don't have the movie, you're getting a behind the scenes or a poster or something like that, or audio commentary, whatever. That was basically the idea, that it came from a fan art of someone who just saw the movie poster back in the days on IMDb and found it inspiring. So yeah, that was it.
That's cool. I think the guys are absolutely burning to ask some questions themselves now. So I'm going to take a little bit of a step back. Fizz, Priest, do your thing.
I'll go. This is actually from Rugless. Rugless handles some stuff for us in the back end, but he's in the call with us. But there's construction in his office today, so he's not able to participate. But he was wondering if you can use the path that you've already walked to help other indie people move with their movies or music to do the same, like make a platform to help launch other indie films. And I was picking back on that to go with do you think that have extra pressure to be a role model because by being the first person in this space that you're setting the precedents for the people to come in behind you, even if it's Hollywood?
Well, we are offering to basically help other filmmakers, especially indie filmmakers, because they are the ones who work the hardest for, very rarely a sustainable filmmaking life. We are reaching out, and a couple of our friends who have released feature films observe us. They see where this is going. Now we barely minted out Toxica after a couple of months. Now we start with Clay. So they just want to see, can we do this? How many times can we repeat it, and how sustainable will it be on a platform such as Cardano? So at the moment we observe a lot, but we also make a lot of notes. So we observe what can we do better, and Clay will be an improvement from Toxica in terms of release. But after all, we are open. We talk about it all the time to magazines and on conventions, and we apply to really talk about it in NFT cons or film festivals. The thing is that most of them are still a little bit reluctant towards it, and we haven't been accepted to many. However, the few we have been accepted to speak to are the biggest ones, such as Sitchies. These are the ones you want to talk to because they are the influential ones. They're ahead of the curve, and they know exactly what has value. And these are very important. We have a marvelous review from Film Thread, Chris Gore's magazine, which is very, very indie, very important. He advocates indie filmmakers above all. So, and unique releases for unique movies, right? He loves reverse engineered films. So these are the ones, but I think, again, we need to be more patient. And I think we don't have the pressure of being role models just yet, because we really try to figure it out ourselves. However, we know very well that we are ahead of it. We know that we have already introduced something that might be normal in a couple of years' time, right? And we are very happy to talk to Hollywood about it. But we also know the studio landscape and Hollywood very well. We've worked in it for many years. And we know that they will probably try find their own path, which is fine. So if we find another path, for indie filmmakers, not just give them hours, but give them more, that might just be beneficial for all of them. We talked to
sure.
Lilliard recently, and he has this amazing streaming service on what is it called? Midnight Movie Club, I think. And I managed to talk to him. I love him. I was such a big fan of his.
Oh my God! Yes.
Man, I love him. I was so hard to not geek out on him, but I just said, look, we've done this with Toxicant, we're doubling down very soon. And he was completely mind blown. He was like, oh, how do you do this? Isn't that like, can you do it? And I said, well, you can now, but we also are not on Ethereum, so he realized that you can do this on other blockchains, yes, but not in his blockchain. So yeah, we will work with him as well. We will join forces here as well, but further down the road. But he was really impressed, and it just showed us that maybe we have struck a little bit of gold there. Maybe we can really pioneer even more so in a couple of years.
I actually also immensely love Matthew Lillard. So the guests if people on the podcast don't know who Matthew Lillard is, you remember the Shaggy from the Scooby-Doo live action movie? Okay, he was also a lot of silly roles as like the second dude. Yes. Oh my gosh. So that's actually really, really awesome, right? Because like one of the things we all recognize when we've said all of the podcasts is like we're early, right? Have you guys explored any of the opportunities by telling stories through video games in it being its own movie, right? Like they do machinima stuff, like using existing things, but now that blockchain itself is like coming forward, these areas of opportunity, right? There's a ton of games that are coming out that have literally no idea how to make movies at any capacity, but they're trying to tell stories. And like I know indie people need to make money, just like every business right now, still building the bear market, right? So like you try to see needs, fill needs. I believe that if there, especially with somebody like with Carlos's background, if there was an opportunity there to teach people how to make extra money, maybe not something you guys were looking to do, but how to help other people. I know that games that are coming out that are amazing have like no video stories, etc. So is that something that you had ever looked at, or was there like maybe a medium of communication classism where video games are considered a different medium of communication?
Oh no, I mean, we have a lot of experience in video gaming. Carlos more in terms of editing, sound design, and I in terms of writing. I did write dialogue for Manticore and everything. So we have actually been approached already by a couple of people who thought it would be interesting to work with us in that regard. However, at the moment, we're just very, very busy, to be honest. We are currently caught up in writing our third film. In terms of that, this is Carlos's job, in Evo, they're doing that. Yeah, and I'm in the middle of finishing up my novel right now. So at the moment, we're a little bit short on time. But saying that, actually, I had a conversation with two Cardano peers recently who want to go. One of them wants to go into horror, which is obviously right down my alley, especially as a writer. And I agreed to be on board for that project. I can't say too much right now. It's still a little bit under, lock and key. And the other one is an animation miniseries or series, which is very, very interesting, very beautiful. And I'm also on board to support that project. And apart from that, we also support the Barracuda movie with Dana and Siobhan. So we also help them, wherever we can and where they need us to. So yeah, we're fairly busy, but what I would be especially interested in, to be honest, working in terms of story would be, for one, our friends from the Cosmic Cuties. I love the Cosmic Cuties. I think they're some of the best PFPs and NFT projects out there, not just on Cardano. I mean, they are really the first cuddly cosmic cult. It's amazing. And the other one would be Occult Archives and Wolves of Rome. They have just joined forces. That would be amazing to work with them, and they are storytellers themselves. That would be really interesting to do.
I always think it's interesting to try to find people who have like that passion for what they do, and like we're in the global local economy now, so it's always like, oh well, who I know is really good at that, this person. And then on the indie film front, I appreciate that. I'm going to reach out to you personally. I have a friend who from like high school who does indie films, and like, I don't know if he's in this space yet or not. I haven't reached out to him in a bit, but I'm going to. And if he hasn't, I'm going to send him your stuff or you his stuff.
Of course, we are very approachable. To be honest, we are still out there. We're very transparent. You can look us up. Exactly who we are. And we are approachable. You can just DM us, and we are very good in getting back to people, even more so on Discord, to be honest. We're not always on Twitter. But I mean, yeah, we are open, you know. We're not building a barrier, really.
That's really awesome. You're willing to share. I've been talking for a bit. I'm sorry. I need to take a break now.
No worries. One of the things that we normally do around this time is we will go ahead and take a water break. Did you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about that, Priest? I know you said you wanted to take a break. Sorry, dude.
Yeah, no, you're good. No, you're good. I set my phone down. It's fine. It's my bad. Then I heard you say that. I went, oh, no, I have to walk back. So water breaks. What we do is we are looking to try to make sure that we take a step back because we kind of get lost in the weeds a little bit, and we kind of give ourselves a moment to get caught up, get a little bit of a drink, you know, have Fizz hit his vape pen like a vape lord that he is. But we also generally have sponsorships and giveaways during our raffles during our water break. So today's water break is brought to you by two projects. We've got the Nex and we've got the Egoverse Hunters. So what we're going to do today to be a little bit different is we don't want people to get interrupted and have to stop the flow of conversations a little bit. So everyone who's heard this, go to our YouTube page right from our website, and then like on our stream today, subscribe, and then comment. And then everyone who comments in those three things, we will enter you in a raffle we're giving away 5 things. So we'll be giving those away tomorrow, and we'll put that raffle, the spin, up on Twitter, and then have you guys message us in Discord. So do you have the graphic up, Andy?
I do, yes.
Awesome. So if you take your phone out and you're not in our Discord, you can scan the QR code to join our Discord. It's a permanent invite link. You'll always be able to do that. And then, hop on over to the website, go ahead and get our YouTube link, and then go right to the stream, like it, subscribe, all that kind of jazz. And then we'll give away those whitelist tickets tomorrow. I am going to grab some water. But if you have anything that you think could be updated on the graphics guys out there, please let us know. These are all work in progress. We're working on it. So I think probably a link to the YouTube channel via a QR code might also be helpful. My bad. But we'll get there. All right. Water for me.
Yeah. I finally got out of my work office, guys. So I'm outside, and I just wanted to tell a stupid story, because basically this just means how old I am. I started watching this bad movie yesterday, The Samaritan. It's with Sylvester Stallone. And
I
guess
watched that
what?
yesterday too.
Yeah, 3 minutes in, I already knew how it was gonna end.
Yeah,
like,
same.
Why? So why did I watch the whole freaking movie if I already know how it's gonna end? So very disappointing one. But I watched it anyway because I just wanted to kill some time. So it's so disappointing when we start watching movies and apparently not even the 5 minutes of the movie you already know how it's gonna go out. That's the part that sometimes makes me quite mad at stuff and just go back to watching old stuff.
Dude, it's so funny that you say that, because I literally watched that last night with my fiance, and we both said the same thing. Practically near the beginning of the film, we both knew where it was going immediately. And it's like, it's bad enough when you watch a trailer of something and they've showed you the whole entire film in the trailer, but when you watch a movie. When you watch a movie and it's like, I know how this is going to go immediately. Like, why do you sit there and carry on watching?
It's painful, but I just want to see if it's true or not.
Yeah, I suppose so.
No, because it can't be true. No, it can't be that. It can't be this easy. So I'm just watching a new movie that's supposed to be different or something, and it's just the same thing.
I mean, at least for me, it wasn't. It wasn't one of those movies that was rushed, you know.
Took its time. It took its time.
Yeah, there's been a lot of movies like that recently that have been just completely rushed, where, it finishes before it starts. But so it was good in its own right, but like, I don't know. yeah, it was just so basic.
The first fight scene with when he's defending the kid, immediately I knew that he was the evil guy.
Yeah. Well, we've just ruined it for everybody that hasn't seen it now. So
it's just another Rogers moment, man.
You just rugged. You literally just rugged the Samaritan.
It really needs to go on the highlight.
It's a really old movie. If he rugged it, it's that's not his fault.
It came out yesterday.
Yeah, it came out yesterday, so it's like brand new. Nobody's seen it yet, and he's just rugged it.
Yeah,
Wait, did it really just launched yesterday?
Yeah.
I thought it was like an old. Oh, bro, what? Oh,
No,
yeah.
No.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, the Rugless Hour.
Yeah,
Indeed.
I was gonna do my coffee break for the water break.
I mean, when this happens, when Rugless starts speaking, just anticipate spoilers. That's all I can say.
Generally, it's out though for games and stuff, so I'll take that, right? Like, but I didn't realize it was gonna be a spoiler for a movie I probably wasn't going to watch, but that's cool.
But there's
now you're definitely gonna watch the movie just to make sure if I was right.
Yeah,
Just
right.
watch The Gray Man on Netflix, actually. That was a good one.
Rain Man.
The Gray Man.
I was going to
Ryan-
say, Rain Man's been out for a while.
Oh, no,
Yeah,
no.
that's-
That's a masterpiece.
Called The Gray Man, huh?
It's
Gray
pretty
Man.
good. It's pretty good. Actually, it
That's
sets up like exactly what you think it is, but it isn't. Very, very intriguing.
I think I've seen that. Which one was that again?
That to be the one.
I think
The Gray Man.
Yeah,
Gray
yeah.
Man.
Yeah,
Gray Man.
which one's the Grey Man?
The good one.
No, I mean like
He's the dude in gray.
what's the plot line for that? I think I've watched it, but I'm not sure.
You know what? It is basically your average action film plotline, right? Like it's if I describe to you, it sounds like everything you have ever seen. So it's a double agent, like an agent who does dirty work for a government agency, but there is someone who knows more than him, and he has to kill him, and and there's a bad guy played by Chris Evans, and it's like your usual plot you expect from everything, but it isn't. It's actually pretty damn good, but without trying to be super edgy or super different. It just does things differently.
No, I quite enjoyed it. The only thing that kind of put me off a little bit is it just felt cheese, and they were making way too much fun of James Bond for my liking.
Yes, absolutely.
So easy to make fun of James Bond.
Uncle, stuff like that.
It's like I kind
So
of.
how do you handle that? How do you handle subverting expectations without being the trope of subverted expectations, right? Like, since GRM came out, and then we had like the Red Wedding and Ned Stark dying, right? Like, now everyone wants main characters to die. So, like, how do you balance telling the story versus like the shock value aspects of those things?
Don't force it. That's the secret. Don't try to be super edgy and surprise people with force. It has to come organically, like naturally.
So basically, good storytelling.
Yeah, one would say good character development and good storytelling, and you actually have a pretty damn solid plot on your hands. That's what we're trying to do.
So
it's not easy anymore.
When shall I take the graphic down now? We're back into show mode for the final part of the show, are we?
The end of the Rugless Hour.
End of the Rugless Hour.
Yeah, why not?
Okay,
Yeah,
so
take down the water break. The people know what to do. We'll remind them at the end.
Sure. So I'm going to put my camera back up again as well. So yeah, for those, when you speak to people about your filmmaking, directing, and production and things like that, you'll probably get a lot of questions like we've asked here. Who's your inspiration? And what movies do you like? That kind of thing. So I want to kind of throw a little bit of a curveball and ask you to maybe say something controversial. So if you could take, if you could pick a movie that has been created that a lot of people have seen, it's out there in Netflix or Amazon, whatever, and in your opinion, the movie should never have been made, and the person that made the movie should just not make movies. Like, what would be, if any, what would there be for you in terms of like the director or movie?
Wow. Oh my goodness. I think because I know how hard it is to make a movie, let alone a good one, I think everybody has absolutely done a marvelous job making a movie. any movie is great. But
You know how difficult it is to make a movie, right? So it's obvious that you've got to appreciate the art, the work, the time, and everything that goes into it. But yeah, what were you going to say?
it is very, very difficult. I mean, the only movies I think are very redundant, and that is an opinion I publicly have anyways, and I'm not afraid of being cancelled. Is simply a shot-for-shot remake of the good ones. For example, Disney is doing this recently to keep its licenses, right? To keep the rights to the movies they made a couple of decades ago. So that is something they have to do, a sequel like Cinderella 3 or Ariel the Beginning or something, every couple of years to keep the rights. The live-action movies are far from magical, in my opinion. I did like Beauty and the Beast, and that was basically it. But I think the originals are just so timeless, and they make you cry, they make you laugh, they just have the whole package, right? That is something I think is we can do without, easily can do without. Because for one, there is no creativity in it for the director. The director cannot do what he wants to do. And also it is a story we already know, so we can go back and watch a better version of it. And the other thing is really remakes of, for example, there was a recent Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or now more old movies from the 70s and 80s are remade. And there are movies out there that can be remade, no problem. For example, They Live would be, I hope someone remakes it, because you can definitely do better, and I say it with all my love for Carpenter. But there are also remakes that are better. For example, The Thing in the 70s is much better than the original in the 40s. Or what was the other one I recently watched for the 85th time, where I thought The Fly, Cronenberg's The Fly is much better than the original. So you can actually do better. But Nosferatu, they're both great, But I think making another Texas Chainsaw, and they're trying to do that for the 85th time now, I think it would be more supportive for filmmakers to keep that money and give it to someone with an original idea, and instead make something new and maybe create a new IP instead of, time skipping the old IPs over and over again. And that would also lead probably to people become, be more creative again, because we lack a little bit of creativity these days. I was recently asked in a movie space on Twitter, which movie would you want to remake if you had so much money? I said, none. I wouldn't remake anything because I want to make my own movie. So I have 10 scripts I could make right now, if I wanted to. So I have enough stories I would like to tell. And yeah, that would be my answer, I think.
No, that's a great answer.
That's really potent.
It's a perfect answer, I think, because I completely agree with you. First of all, but it's like there seems to be this competition in Hollywood at the moment as to who can make the darkest version of a kids' film.
Yeah.
And it's like, how dark do you want to go? It's like when you look at the Batman movies, it's like when The Dark Knight came out, you were, oh, that's dark. And then you get to the next one, oh, that's darker. And then you get the new one, the Batman, you're like, how dark can you get?
Turn off the lights.
Exactly. It's just going to be a blank screen with a load of grunting.
It's just a blank screen with sound inside. But actually, I liked Pattinson as the Bat. I loved the movie. Also, our man Aki, the Clay's Redemption lead, is in it, and I didn't know, and we freaked out in the cinema when we saw him. It was incredible.
Amazing.
So I'm very proud of him. It's so cool. He does it with us all the time. He was in Men in the High Castle and in Falcon Winter Soldier, and we did not know. We just watched it, and there he was. But he's become real successful since Clay, actually. But the thing is also what we lack is a bit of values nowadays. I've seen bits of the latest Pinocchio, for example. I remember the old Pinocchio was really scary. I was terrified. The sounds and the whole how it was done and how it told the story. Don't go with strangers, and it was just I was terrified of strangers. I never went anywhere near a white van or anything. But nowadays, it is a lot of messages have gone lost or have been made milder and have lost a little bit of their impact, or even wrong messages. Like sometimes things come across where I think, oh no, I don't think I want my nieces to grow up with a message like that. I want them to be indeed independent. I want them to be strong, but not in that way. Everything is reimagined for a modern time, and sometimes it just doesn't go right. And I think we really had back in the days amazing influential characters. Like look at the original Galadriel. Oh my goodness, she was an influence for me because she was graceful, she was elegant, she was wise, but she was also strong. She could throw away a orc with a flick of her wrist. I mean, seriously, and look gorgeous with it. It is just that's what you want to be as a woman. She didn't need an armor or a sword because she was so powerful. And that is what you want, your wisdom, your grace, your love, and your beauty. That is something that you want your daughters, or in my case, my little nieces, to value. And that is something I wanted, kind of like bring back a little bit with Toxica, of a character who is not perfect. Actually, far from it. She makes mistakes. She doesn't make silly mistakes, but she makes mistakes. She makes wrong decisions. But she also shows you that you can always turn it around, and you can redeem yourself. And I think that is something very important to learn these days.
Well, you kind of touched on what my question was going to be. I have a very young daughter. I've said that before, and especially when we had our Women in Crypto. And what movies do you think would be a list of things that I should probably to keep on my list of good female or lead role models? Because like realistically, I've never had the perspective of having to care about that before, right? Because it was like me and my wife, and my wife's an adult, so I don't have to worry about that. But like as I go to like teach these things and like lessons to my daughter, what do you have that would like other parents can take as a you'd be wanting your nieces to watch that same movie?
Well, for one, definitely the original Lord of the Rings trilogy. For one, they're near perfect. The other is you have an Arwen and a Galadriel and an Eowyn who know exactly that it is very strong to be actually a woman. There is no shame. You don't have to mimic the male perspective to be stronger, right? Because that is something that is taken away a little bit nowadays. They give them a sword and an armor and a nasty look, and is always in a bad mood and think this is empowering, and it isn't. And this is my controversial opinion, and I very much stand by it. That you can be very strong being a woman without impersonating a male, because men have their strength and their power, right? But so do women. And I would say definitely Galadriel in the original trilogy is, and Arwen, are very beautiful, strong women. I would say are very inspiring. Also, a movie that is not that popular or not that well known is, for example, The Mists of Avalon, which is a 1990 or noughties, I think 2001, back in the days when they still made TV miniseries, something like that. She was Morgan Le Fay. She was a powerful woman. She had a sword, but she wasn't always angry. She didn't have to decapitate other people to elevate herself. She was already elevating herself with her own magic and her own power and her own way of a sorceress or priestess, right? A warrior priestess. Or for example, small characters like the mom in Gremlins. She's beating the living hell out of the gremlins, She's a mom who just went back from grocery shopping. Like, she is brave, she's courageous, she happens to be super bold to defend her family, right? Something like that. Of course, there is a Ripley, there's a Sarah Connor, Of course, they're all there and they're all very inspiring. But I think who for me is a very inspiring persona and who has always been there, and she's basically the same person, is Marilyn Monroe and Dita Von Teese. Dita Von Teese is an they're both extremely sexual and extremely beautiful and vulnerable women who wear their vulnerability as a strength, as it should be. And they're also very much aware that a female has so much power, you know, and they can do other things. They don't have to be physically strong, but they have other strength. And that is something they celebrate and they advocate. And that is something that inspired me to become the pumpkin queen I am now. Before I was a gothic 1990s goth teen, you know, I was different. But now I really learned to embrace all these things. I learned to embrace the fact that you're underestimated sometimes, you know, and it is a strength. It is actually an advantage. If someone underestimates you, there's only the chance to win. If everybody thinks you're constantly a genius, you know, you can only lose. You have to live up to that expectation. If you're underestimated, that's perfect. So I think women like that have really, really influenced me, and I hope they will influence my nieces as well. And you.
So I really appreciate that. One, my wife and I are huge Lord of the Ring nerds. When I say that we at least watch the extended edition once a year, it generally means my wife isn't feeling well. But when we were on our honeymoon, we were at a really fancy restaurant, and they started playing Into the West on the harp during our favorite course of the dinner. So like, and that is like a seminal moment in our relationship. So like, that is we love Lord of the Rings. So the fact that you pick two female characters from there that we enjoy is wonderful. So I appreciate that. And also the Mom and Gremlins is wonderful. Thank you for referencing another amazing 90s or late 80s, I guess, movie. You talk about being a 90s girl, and I have to ask this because this is like my personal belief. I think that every person who is like a goth woman in like the 90s and later, we're extremely influenced by you. Well, I'm a dude, but extremely influenced by Wednesday Addams. Where does your gothic persona draw inspiration?
Oh my God. Okay. You know what? You hit gold right there. So when I was very, very tiny, I had these little pigtails and I had a fringe. I still have a fringe, but anyway, or bangs, as you say it in America. So I had these little pigtails and I had very dark hair and very big eyes, no nose and no mouth. I was very pale, as we are in Scotland, and they called me Wednesday. So back in the days, the movie wasn't out, so Christina Ricci was not yet an inspiration for me. However, when I grow up, they called me Morticia. You know, I was always like, but in a more like a bullying way, and I didn't know who that was because I hadn't seen the movie. And I remember that my grandfather who raised me, he said, "Oh my God, this is amazing comparison." And I thought, why? They mock me. They call me Morticia. What is it? And I said, let's watch that movie. Let's go to the cinema because it is an honor to be called Morticia. And I fell in love with Angelica Houston. She was just the perfect Morticia. Oh my God. And again, in The Witches. I mean, come on. This woman was divine, right? So I saw her and I was like, I'm okay being called Morticia or Wednesday. It's cool. Nice.
One of the things that my wife and I actually joke about is that like the cultural stigma against the Addams family is that like, you know, they're just different. But like the husband loves the wife loves the husband, they love their family, right? Like it is just like what you would expect like the 1950s family to be, but like just it turned on its head. So I don't know. I just kind of I just wondered if that was where it came from because like, you know, I'm in my mid-30s, so I just kind of assumed that everyone has like my outlook on life, even if they're a little older, because like there wasn't much media back then for us to consume. So it's not like now.
They are a perfect couple. I mean, seriously, sorry, Crypto. It's really, I think they always have been influential for me because I did not grow up with mom and dad, you know, and it was just amazing to see how Gomez, like you said, he loves his family, he loves his wife, and it was the first time ever that it was implied that a family or a couple on screen had a sex life. First time ever. That was never been done before. And that was interesting. I always remember when she shows him the two different beds, you know, his and hers, and they have like these nails in them, and he's very excited. And it was just incredible. That relationship is perfection.
I absolutely love that. It's kind of a little known fact about me and my fiance is that our pet names for each other are actually Morticia and Gomez. with her being Morticia, of course, and me being Gomez. But no. So I think we all kind of draw inspiration from the Addams Family. Everybody must. I mean, it's just. I mean, perfect, right? I think it encapsulates that millennial kind of way of thinking as well. In a weird kind of way. We all wish we were dead. No, I'm joking. So it's but no, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I could sit and nerd out for I've still got so many questions that I would love to ask, but unfortunately we're running out of time. There is a question that we typically ask guests that come on to the podcast, and I think it would be appropriate if Fizz asked you today, actually, this question. I think you know the question by now, Fizz.
Yeah, this is kind of an easy question, but if you could be, if you were a fruit, what kind of fruit would you be?
A mango.
Ooh, that was controversial.
Wow.
Why would you be a mango?
Have you ever tried salt on a mango?
I haven't.
Apparently, it's amazing. I don't know why, but a lot of people are telling me that. Yeah, it's weird.
I eat mango with ham.
Oh, that's good.
Ah, delicious.
Now
I think
I want that.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I love mangoes. And I think if I wasn't a mango, I would probably be a raspberry, I think. Because they're pink.
I like that. Okay. Why would you be a mango?
I just love them. I think they're perfect. They're round and cuddly, and you can do different things with them. You can make smoothies. You can eat them with salty and sweet stuff and cream. They're perfect.
That's awesome. Love that. I think everybody was expecting you to say pumpkin, so I like the little curveball you threw in there. That's
I like that. That's character development and storytelling in words. See?
Absolutely.
I'm a pumpkin. There's nothing, character arc in me being another pumpkin.
So, as I said, we are coming to the end. It's been an absolute pleasure having you with us today. Pumpkin, Rona, I don't know what to call you. Pumpkin is more appropriate. So, we're really looking forward to seeing more from your team and your projects coming out soon. Remind everybody when the next Mint is and how they can get involved in that and where they can connect with you.
Yes, so the next Mint is our second feature film starting on Saturday this week. So the 17th will be whitelist holders only, and from the 18th onwards, you will, be able to mint Place Redemption in noir version, so black and white, and in a neon version, which is a bit more cyberpunky, a bit more drive. And we have the links in our Discord. We have them on our Twitter account. It's the pinned tweet will come on Friday. That's basically it. Another feature film. And then PFPs, I think mid-October, I believe.
Awesome. Thank you very, very much for that. Is there anything else that you wanted to say, Priest, before we start closing out?
Well, you just dropped that you're from Scotland, so I really had like a whole plethora of more questions for you. So my only question that I have, I guess, now is when do we get to have the pleasure of you coming back to nerd out with movies with us? Because we were talking in our chat that we also have another movie buff that we met through the podcast, and we're gonna bring him in as a special guest to nerd out with us. So I just want to formally offer the invitation to come back in the future because I think you're eloquent and educated, and you clearly have a good perspective on things. So I would love to pick your brain with people who I think are also other movie nerds, and maybe it'll be crypto related, but probably not.
I would be honored. I would love. Please send me an invite. Well, I'm actually from the Isle of Skye, but we say we're Scottish because it's you don't have to explain so much. But the Isle of Skye is basically Hebrides between Scotland and Greenland. It's their own little thing, their own little tribe.
Mm-hmm.
But hence the accent. But yeah, it is. It would be an honor to come back. I really loved it. I very much enjoyed it, and I wanted to just say thank you for giving me the chance to share our project. We're still underdogs. We're still doing something very new. We still need to be a bit louder and share the news. That things like that are now possible. So yeah, thank you so much for supporting not just me, but my company and my cast and my crew.
The pleasure is absolutely all ours. Honestly, you have been fantastic. And I mirror what Pri says. I've still got so many things I want to ask you. If we can get you back, and then potentially even Carlos and Ivo as well, that'd be absolutely amazing. For sure. So we're gonna start the outro now. So typically, what we do, Pumpkin, is if we can kind of give the people that are watching some sort of affirmation, positive affirmation, or maybe even a quote that sticks with you, or something that they can carry with them. That would be absolutely amazing. If we can just give you a chance to think of something, maybe we can start with Priest today. I don't think he was expecting me to do that. Oh, you already have one. If you want to go ahead and give us one there, crack on.
I do. I have one for Carlos. Carlos always says, the only way is forward. Don't go sideways or back, just go forward. And mine always is a bit more, I'm more of a cynical person. So mine is relax, nothing is under control.
I like that. I do like that. I like that a lot. The house is burning, you're fine. Don't worry about it. It's all good.
And yeah, of course I wasn't prepared. I always go last, and then you ask me to go first. So I'm like, yeah, I can do something for the baby. It's cool. So what I have for everybody is the time and effort that you put in today will pay off tomorrow, right? Like it will pay off. You may not see it right away, right? Like I don't know how many months we were streaming podcasts with, figuring stuff out on our own and trying to get there. But like, I just want to say thank you guys for being there, listening to us, and thank you for being a part of our driving everything forward for us. And like we are living the keep watering where you live, and it'll be grass will be greener. So thank you guys, I appreciate that. And then real life advice: be nice to your significant other. Sometimes they'll be dealing with some shit, and sometimes you have to make a really stressful decision with each other, and like you don't really want to do it. But at the end of the day, if you recognize that you versus the problem and not versus each other, everything will work out. So it always works out for us, and I just figured I'd share some of our life advice there.
For sure. What about you, Fizz? You got anything for us there, Fizz? Oh,
I just want to say one thing. I always wanted to say this, especially live. It's very simple. It's just one word, and that word is bazinga.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. By the way, Ruggles is the kind of person who watches CBS. Yeah, Ruggles watches CBS. That's cool. Don't worry about it.
Go love somebody today.
There we go.
Go love somebody today.
There he is.
That's what we should definitely be.
This deserves some
doing.
love. Yeah.
Looky there, little hearts. I love it.
I'm always one for surprises. I think wow.
So everybody say goodbye. Thanks again for watching, everybody. This has been the Crypto Lamb Show, and along with Pumpkin from Serenity Pictures, you guys are absolutely awesome. Until next time, catch you all later.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Dude, it's all good. I feel refreshed, man. What breaks are so necessary.
How about you give us an introduction and tell us what we have to look forward to today?
Dude, if you were a fruit, what fruit would you be?
A banana? Alright, so Ruggles, if you could relate yourself or your project, whichever one you want to go with, to a fruit, which fruit would it be and why?
Okay, I'll go with the Eagle Burst and banana.
Why banana, though?
Because I just every time I speak with H1, it feels like I'm feeling one more piece of that banana, and it keeps getting better and better.
That sounds so
That
wrong.
project is awesome. So every time you think you know it, you know everything about it, it just surprises you.
You're the kind of guy. You're the kind of guy that if you were sat in the same room, you'd be eating a banana and maintaining aggressive eye contact. That's the point.
Forcing the entire thing into his mouth at once.
Yeah.
I think the thing that we'll focus on this week is making sure that you stretch.
I don't know. I reckon a coconut, a green one.
A green coconut. Okay, we've had coconut before, but not a green one. Why?
I don't know, you gotta go through the hard stuff before you can get to the good stuff. So
Yeah, thanks for asking. I think I would say probably a mango is like a fruit that you think is like pretty good, but when you actually bite into it, you're like, oh, this is delicious and amazing. It's like I'm all about trying to make things fun, make things enjoyable, and maybe a little bit surprising. Like, you know, your own mentality can make such a big difference in your life, your positivity and stuff. And I really, really enjoy being in spaces with all the people here, the other spaces that I've been in, and learning from everybody. So I get really excited. And I hope other people do too.
I'm so cold. Yeah, man.